Hello, how are you all? Hi. Okay, we'll let people join. Happy Wednesday. Happy New Year. This is my first, I think, live stream of the new year. So happy 2023. Let's hope it's better than the past few years. Anyway, today will be really interesting. So, Fox News just obtained a letter from a prosecutor that worked under George Gascon in Los Angeles. And as you know, George Gascon is one of the rogue prosecutors or district attorneys that was elected all over the US. So we had just a gaggle of rogue prosecutors. For example, you have San Francisco has one of these super progressive, or did have one of these super progressive DAs. They just had a successful recall. Portland, Oregon, New York City, Chicago, basically any liberal city that you hear about, whenever you hear about someone getting arrested, committing a pretty heinous violent crime, and then you look at that person's arrest history and you think to yourself, this person should have been behind bars. Why was this person out? And typically it's because they had a really lenient light sentence. And typically that is because of some of these super progressive district attorneys that have been elected by the public in these progressive cities. And they run their district attorney's office like a public defender's office. And their goal is not public safety, which should be the number one and only goal of a prosecutor. It is an ideological agenda. And that is how George Gascon runs his office, right? He doesn't run on wanting to keep the public safe. I think it's pretty clear by his policy. He runs on fulfilling this ideological agenda that actually has no basis in reality. So that's why you're seeing a lot of upheaval and a lot of pushback from these rogue prosecutors. Now, George Gascon actually did have a recall effort in Los Angeles, and that recall failed. And to be honest, it should not have failed because George Gascon, when you look at all of them, when you look at the fact that Chesa Bodine was recalled in San Francisco just months before George Gascon's recall. And I would actually argue that George Gascon, he is a lot more measurable than Chesa Bodine as far as a lot of these high profile crimes and measuring this directly back to policy. Like, why is this person not behind bars? How is this person able to be out in the public to offend again? So these are the questions a lot of people have. And that's one of the reasons why this recall of George Gascon, it should have gone through. It should have worked, but it didn't. So, at the end of the day, you get what you vote for. But we have this letter. So this has been obtained by Fox News. I find this really interesting. And we'll just go through it together and then I'll kind of give you my opinion. I do think the Overton window is going to turn on a lot of these prosecutors, but unfortunately, it's going to take a lot more time and it's probably going to take more crime and things like that for people to wake up. Because what happens in a lot of these areas is that people will notice, like regular Democrat or liberal voters will notice, wow, crime seems to be worse. All of these things seem to be a lot worse, but they will not make the connection back to who they vote for. They still live in that world of, I've always voted blue, therefore I have to continue to vote blue. And that's how they live. Or Republicans bad. It's one of the two. Okay, so Los Angeles prosecutor pins scathing exit letter to progressive DA George Gascon, calling his office a managerial dumpster fire. So this is interesting because we have our outside perspective of what's going on, but you don't have an inside perspective. Like, what's the inside perspective of people that have been prosecutors for years? And that probably went to school to be a prosecutor and are now working in this office. And all of a sudden, this is what they are dealing with. What's their perspective? Because I know how I feel. So it's really interesting to hear how someone on the inside feels. And just to go back to square one here, So the criminal justice system, basically in any city, you have the police officers who go and arrest people that are accused of committing crime or that have committed crime. They get arrested. They either get released on bail or held till their court date. And then you have a public defender who is there to defend the alleged criminal, and you have the prosecutor who is there to prosecute the alleged criminal. And typically, the prosecutor is the voice of the victim. So if this was a violent crime, if this was a crime with a victim, that prosecutor is there essentially for the victim and to speak on behalf of the victim. But what you have right now, under George Gascon and under a lot of these rogue prosecutors, is you have basically the district attorney's office, the office of prosecutors, is acting like a public defender's office. So now essentially you have an imbalance in the criminal justice system because you have two offices who are acting as public defenders. So who is there for the victim? So you see how this is messed up. You see how this is creating already, just from a pure common sense standpoint, already this creates an imbalance in the criminal justice system. Hi, Kelly. How are you? I'm really good. Yes, I am live right now, and we're about to read a letter from an ex-district attorney to George Gascon, which should be really good because I don't like George Gascon. So if you have that, you have an imbalance in the criminal justice system. Who is there for the victims? And you have, when people like George Gascon get elected, they run on fixing the criminal justice system. But the people that they fail to talk about are the victims. So they always say, we have too many people in jail. We need to they say we have too many people in jail, and that's what they run on. So they get you to feel sympathy for the people that are in jail, but what they leave out of this whole conversation every single time are the victims. They don't tell you about the victims of the crime. All right, so let's see who this guy is and what he's saying to George Gascon. So this guy, I'm guessing this letter, we'll find out. Okay, let's read together. Kelly, how is your New Year's? How are your holidays? I hope they were really good. Okay, so a veteran Los Angeles prosecutor scolded his boss Thursday, saying his progressive reforms and management style have alienated his colleagues and turned the nation's largest district attorney's office into a managerial dumpster fire. So that's another thing about Los Angeles. Now, naturally, Los Angeles is going to have more crime. I mean, the county is infamous for police chases. There was one that just went completely viral. Oh, you can't remember. McCarthy lost his first ballot. Yeah, I saw that. Kelly, you can't remember your holidays. Did you drink too much or not enough? I don't get it. Yeah, that whole McCarthy thing is another dumpster fire. Like, I get that people don't want to vote for him, but what's your other option? I get it, and I don't like McCarthy either, but what is the other option? What's the solution here? I just feel like it's a little show to say we don't like Kevin McCarthy. He's going to be speaker. And this whole charade will probably go on for a few more days. And Democrats will laugh. Kelly drank way too much. Okay. We can all recover together. I don't think I drank enough over the holidays, to be honest with you, to hold the line and force them to change their rules. Okay. I don't know if it's having that effect. All right. So here's the letter. In a lengthy letter to District Attorney George Gascon and his top aides, Prosecutor Mark Burnley aired a number of grievances on his last day with the office. Burnley said he has been in the DA's office since 1999. Okay, so this guy who wrote a letter to George Gascon has been a prosecutor since 1999 in that office. So he knows that office. He knows Los Angeles. He knows what works and what doesn't work. 28 years. Okay, so this is what it says in the letter. Until December 2020, that's when George Gascon took his first day in office. Until December 2020, I thought I had the best job in the world, Burnley wrote, referring to when Gascon took office after unseating incumbent Jackie Lacey. In a letter obtained by Fox News Digital, he says, I am constantly amazed by the expertise and knowledge of the district attorneys in this office. They are deeply devoted and have a breathtaking amount of experience. It's a shame you cannot or will not recognize that. So on George Gascon's first day in office, he he basically came in with a list of directives. So he's walking into this district attorney's office of experienced district attorneys. He's not asking, by the way, George Gascon does not have he does not have experience being a prosecutor. Um Okay, actually, I'll address this. 1.7 trillion spending bill was a slap in the face to the American people. Okay, but okay, so hold on. I'm putting a pin so I can respond to this. Let's put a pin to George Gascon. I do want to respond to this because I do think there is stuff that goes on that we don't know about. And I will say, I listened to a really interesting perspective today. And the perspective was that Republicans are having a lot of issues right now and they're not able to get their stuff together. And one of the reasons he went ahead and went with the 1.7 trillion spending bill was the fact that, hold on, that's the cat. Hold on. Eva, come on. You say hello to everybody. You have to say hello. You have to say hello. Oh. Say hello. Say hi to Kelly and Liberty Ninja. And okay. Eva, well, so this is just some perspective, but I think it's a really interesting perspective. The perspective is the reason that Kevin McCarthy went with this spending bill, which we all hate, nobody liked, was that he didn't think Republicans were going to be able to get their own bill together. Because we know that Republicans took the House and the voting debacle isn't helping that right now because I get it. I get if they don't like Kevin McCarthy, I totally understand, but what they're not doing is offering solutions. Like, okay, you don't like Kevin McCarthy, but what is your other idea? And I understand what you're saying. So what? Let the government shut. I mean, I get that, but if you're a voter that's on the fence, and this kind of goes into what I'm talking about with George Gascon, people don't think that Republicans have solutions because Republicans we sit there and we complain a lot, but we're not actually offering solutions. So he is a fair weather friend. And look, I don't even know if I agree totally with that perspective, but it is a perspective, and I think it's an interesting perspective. Um, so I see, like, I listen to Matt Gaetz. I listen to a few other people, but they keep saying we want Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan doesn't want to be speaker, and they said they wanted what Steve Scalise. Steve Scalise doesn't want to be speaker. Nobody else wants that job. Kevin McCarthy actually wants that job. And I get that. I don't think he's conservative enough. I don't like a lot of the things that he does. But but look at what's happening right now. It's for the rest of, for people looking in at this, it's making Republicans look like they don't have solutions again. And if you look at the television, if you look at Democrats right now on TV, they all think it's hilarious. They're joking, they're jovial about it. They think it's so funny right now. They are loving what is happening with Republicans right now. I totally understand what you're saying. And that was my thinking at first, too. And I get it. But at the same time, if you turn on Democrat television and they're all laughing and they're jovial and they think they won and they think this is hilarious, I don't think that it's good. Brian Donald would take the job. And by the way, he's never voted for a single spending bill. There you go. No, I understand, but like, what's the solution? Anyway, let's talk about George Gascon. But let me know if you disagree, because I would love to hear more perspective on that. Where did Eva go? Oh, she's laying on the floor right now. Brian Donald. Okay, let's read more about George Gascon. We have solutions for everything. I have solutions. But you also have to think about how it works. And something that we don't think about often, which again was was brought up this morning. I listened to Ben Shapiro a little bit and somebody else. But what you also have to understand, nobody seems to like McCarthy. Yeah. Um, you also have to understand, in order to support something on the floor, you have to be sure that you have the votes for it. Because if you don't have the votes for it, there's no point in wasting time on anything on the floor if you know already that you do not have the votes. You kind of have to, it's a dirty game and you kind of have to play it a little bit. Yeah, it works by them working against us, the people. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's the truth. Kelly says, I disagree with everything you say. I don't even know why I'm here. You're just hate watching me. So I will say sometimes I watch people that I disagree with to sharpen my arguments. Yeah, it works by them. And it is a really sad state of affairs. And with Congress, I think the way that Congress works right now, I honestly think that the people that get elected into Congress, they're not necessarily working for us as we think that they should. I think that it's a crappy job being in Congress. And I honestly feel like a lot of the people that work in Congress, it's a stepping stone for them, whether it's fame or something. I think it's just a stepping stone for them. I think it's all theatrics and I'm just tired of all of it. So a lot of what they do is just pure theater. All right, George Gascon. Just like just like George Gascon. All right. Let's go back to the letter. Yeah, I do though. I ultimately think the speaker will probably be Kevin McCarthy and this will go on for a few more days. All right. George Gascon. It's only getting worse. It's why they are forcing McCarthy to change the rules. Yeah. It's funny because we talk about politics, but every there's politics everywhere. This actually is politics, but there's politics and politics. All right, let's read George Gascon because I want to know what's happening in this letter. So, in his letter to George Gascon, Burnley said he was told by a member of Gascon's transition team before he took office that there would not be any dramatic policy changes. The morning before he was sworn in as the country's top prosecutor, Burnley was informed otherwise, he said. He said, many of us hoped, like Mark Burnley, that George Gascon would run a government office. He made it clear from his first minute of his administration that he could not. Eric Siddle, vice president of the Association of Deputy District Attorneys for Los Angeles, told Fox News Digital in a statement, nothing has changed since then. Gascon and his cronies have made Southwest Airlines executive team look like a bunch of I'm sorry. I have to read that again. Okay, so he said Gascon and his cronies have made Southwest Airlines executive team look like a bunch of managerial geniuses. Dedicated public servants are leaving the office in record numbers. Interest in joining the office is at a historic low, and the people of Los Angeles are paying the price. Burnley is right. Competence matters. Okay, this is really interesting and a really, really important statement that they made. Kelly, thank you so much for Eva. Are you still in VA? Thank you so much. Eva will enjoy that greatly. Yes, I'm still in VA, but I will probably be moving here shortly within the next month or 2 months. So I'm like a little nervous because I've been here in this small town for a while, but it's about time to move on. So I'll keep you updated on that. Theater, right. It's like the flag exchange between Ukraine. It is, you guys. It's all theater. And you can almost see it. Like Matt Gaetz. Like, I like Matt Gaetz, I guess. But every time he gets out there and he says something, I'm like, okay, that was adorable. Next. Like, what are you actually going to do? That was a great little soundbite moment that you had that I know you want it to go viral and look at you. It's just like all the hearings. Like you have these committee hearings, and I guess they're kind of cathartic to watch people yell at each other. but whatever comes of them? Like nothing. The flag exchanging. I agree, clown man. But this is the point I wanted to make about speak up. We need more to speak up. I try. Yeah, more people and that's the thing. I think more it's becoming more and more obvious that the beauty is, you guys, I do think we live in actually a really exciting time, to be honest. I really do. It doesn't seem like it right now, but with social media, you're seeing the old way is just not working the way it used to. Like things are so transparent because we have so many people, we can talk to each other, we can share information, that the old way that they were able to control narratives, I don't think is working the way that it was. And you see what's happening with Twitter with Elon Musk releasing all this stuff. It's really disturbing to know a lot of this stuff, to know how, the government was interacting with social media to censor people and to control information. It's disturbing to learn that, but it's also showing that things are changing. And I think they've always controlled narratives. I remember watching this show on the History Channel called The Men That Built America. It was a series, a historical series about, just about America and, JP Morgan, Rockefeller, like all of these people. Donald Trump was even in it talking about it. And back in the day, I believe it was JP Morgan and Rockefeller, they essentially bought McKinley, the president, because they heard who was running. They heard who was running and they didn't like it because they felt like the person running and their policy was going to threaten the way that they did business. So they said, okay, who can we get to run that we can be sure that will be okay? So they got McKinley and basically had him run. He was the president. And before some of his speeches, they would look at his speeches and approve them before. So these are things that have happened before. Like people control things, they control narratives, they pull strings behind the scenes. This has always happened. But right now, with so much information that's available for us and our ability to share, I think it's becoming harder and harder for them to be able to hold up the old way of doing things. And you're even seeing it with Hollywood, right? Like you're seeing it with celebrities, the Kardashian, like just all this stuff. I'm really seeing it across across entertainment, politics, the most expensive $1 trillion Broadway act I've ever seen. You're probably right. Yeah, but they just don't have the same handle on the narrative that they once have. And I think that's why you're seeing all of these desperate attempts to censor and like the disinformation governance board and all of that stuff, because they just don't, like, everything that we're fed is fake. Like even when you even something as sick as it's just silly as I'm going off on left field here, but even something as silly as like a paparazzi picture from a celebrity, that celebrity probably paid that photographer to go out and take that picture of them. And they're probably holding a product or wearing a product. And it looks like they were just caught just walking to, I don't know, get a slice of pizza or whatever. But that was a carefully curated image. Hi, Sarah. I'm watching the speaker vote. It will be going to a 6 vote. Oh, we were just talking about that. Tell me what's going on with that. We were literally just talking about it. We'll see what happens. I appreciate what Florida was doing. I do too. Everything that Florida is doing, I appreciate. I don't even know what exactly you're referring to, but I like everything that they're doing. No, Ron DeSantis is the type of politician. Ron DeSantis works for the people of Florida. And that's why his state is running so well, because he is working the way that you are supposed to work. You are supposed to work for your people. Can you see Eva back there? Wait, did you guys see her? She just got in her little thing. Eva. See, I put her truck right there. 12 votes for Donald so far. It's the most detrimental dog and pony show I've seen up to date. Yeah. But Ron DeSantis runs his state like you're supposed to run. That's how a public servant is supposed to be. Let me Yeah, that's a really good point, Liberty Ninja. Liberty Ninja said DeSantis focused on local elections, which helped him at the state level. Yes. And I think a lot more people need to focus locally. That's how you really start to see change. I miss the fifth. I miss the fourth and fifth. But you see, okay, I want to read this. This is what happens when you have people that are trying to be, and this is George Gascon too. Like he's not working for the people of Los Angeles. He's working for his ideological agenda and his national or his reputation among his cohort, whatever that is. And you see what this is doing, because what did this district attorney who worked for 28 years, who is probably an asset to Los Angeles, probably knows things that other people don't know, left and is saying that people are not wanting to go into this field anymore. People that went to school and that are excited to serve the public don't want to go into this field anymore. I don't know if I ever told you guys exactly that, but what he just said resonates with me so much is because I used to work for the government. I've told you guys this. The last time I worked for the government, I worked for the city of Denver, Colorado, which, if you pay attention, they are a bunch of woke nonsense, also. I worked for them, I think I quit in 2012 or 2013. And the woke stuff are already started saying hello in the Denver public sector. And I actually got attacked by a client, and I did not feel that the city that I worked for or the agency that I worked for had my back. It's interesting that we're talking about district attorneys, because I actually worked with a district attorney, and he was actually a good district attorney, because the person that attacked me went to jail. Um, it was a client. It was an unprovoked attack. But that attack never should have happened. I was a counselor, and it was just really unsafe where I was working. And a lot of it is because a lot of the woke BS that they start implementing it. It makes it unsafe for your employees, and it makes it really frustrating. And it makes people that are actually really good people that go to school and that study to be a public servant in whatever capacity, whether you're a therapist, a counselor, a social worker, a district attorney, a police officer, it doesn't matter. You go to school and you're excited to serve the public, and you know that it's going to be hard, and you know that you're going to get a lot of crap from the public. But what you don't expect is to get so much crap from your own office and to get demonized by your own office. So what he said resonates with me. And this woke stuff, not only does it hurt the public, it actually hurts the people that want to work for the public, and it makes them not even want to go into those fields anymore. And it's really sad to hear them say this about our biggest district attorney office in the entire US, how morale is low and they're having trouble even recruiting new district attorneys. So that's how not infectious, that's how cancerous this stuff is. Hi, Braxton. Toward the beginning, she's sleeping now. I'll get her again in a second. So the article continues. Gascon has faced mounting criticism over his progressive criminal justice policies that some say enable criminals and fail to protect the rights of victims. Upon taking office, he issued a number of directives, some of which have been scaled back. The policy changes include a ban on charging juvenile suspects as adults and not charging for criminal enhancements, among others. He also repealed a long held policy of notifying crime victims about upcoming parole hearings scheduled for those that harmed them or their loved ones, as well as barring a representative from a DA's office from attending those hearings on behalf of victims. And this is the one thing I do not understand. What in the world could be your incentive for implementing a policy like that? From barring victims of being informed of parole hearings, or from barring DAs of allowing a representative to go and represent the victim? Like, your what would be your reasoning for not allowing that? And when I worked with my district attorney, I will tell you, it actually helped, because when you're victimized, like, it doesn't matter who you are. When you're victimized, someone is taking your power away from you. They're violating you. And it takes a while to sort of get over that and to regain your sense of some kind of security again. Some people never do. And I will say, like, having that district attorney reach out to me and give me updates on the whereabouts or the happenings of the case with the individual that attacked me, I will say that actually helped a lot in healing and getting that sense of security back. That helped because it helps you see, okay, there is good in the world. There are people that are helping and there are people that care. So to take that away, I don't understand why, what reasoning would be to take that away. Eva for speaker? Oh, she'll get mad at me. She'll sleep. I'll get her in a second. Eva, you're nominated for Speaker of the House. Where's your cat gavel? Oh, there is a second. I did buy her an elephant costume, but she will not wear it. This is it. Oh, where's her ears? That's her little nose. She won't wear it. She gets mad at me when I put that on her. Sarah, you should have pursued a teaching career. I thought about it for a second. Thought about it for a second. I will say now that I'm much older, like now that I'm not, I thought about it when going to college. Now that I'm much older, I'm like, that would have been a smart path. You get 3 months off in the summertime. I did try to put it on her, and she has a lot of costumes. None of them have been able to successfully go on her. As soon as I get one of her costumes to go on her, there will be lots of video footage. I was able to get her antlers on. These were on, and this isn't even a costume. You literally just like put that on them. It was on her for about 2 seconds. The Glenn Allen said the victims need a voice. Absolutely, you do need a voice, and that's what goes to show. So they try to pull at people's heartstrings, right? Because criminal justice was our Overton window in 2020. That's what everyone was talking about. That was the hot button issue. Everyone was running on it. So that's what a lot of these progressive DAs used to run on. But when you're talking about criminal justice, my question would go back to criminal justice for who? For who? Because if you're saying, you know, okay, so criminal justice reform that came out of a lot of people that supported Black Lives Matter. Okay, Black Lives Matter, criminal justice reform. So let me ask you a question. Do all Black Lives Matter or just some? Because if we're using Black Lives Matter to use the argument criminal justice reform, okay, so let's say Los Angeles, for example, they will say, well, you have a disproportionate of amount of young Black and Hispanic men in our prison system. So you'll hear that. But what you won't hear is that 90% of homicide victims are young Black and Hispanic men in Los Angeles County. So when you're using criminal justice as a reason to hire a soft on crime prosecutor, and when that prosecutor is one of the most important parts to the criminal justice system, and now 2 years after you have hired this district attorney and you are sitting at a 15, your city is sitting at a 15-year high in homicides, and 90% of homicide victims are young Black and Hispanic men, and I'm going to say it's not working is what I'm saying. I'm going to say it's not working. And I go back to my original question, criminal justice for who? Whose lives matter is my question again. And when you ask those questions that simply and just keep asking that question, the whole ideology just implodes on itself because it's built on lies. And they can't answer those questions honestly. And that's why someone like George Gascon can't answer those questions honestly. Because I guarantee you, someone that has worked in that office for 28 years, they're not going to just leave like that. They're not just going to allow some clown to come in and cause them to leave. There has to be some serious issues, and that just even if you don't agree with those policies, you have to say, okay, let me just give it a year. Let me see. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm wrong. After 2 years, I'm going to say that your policies aren't working. But again, it was never about public safety to George Gascon. It was never about that. It was about fulfilling an ideological agenda and narrative. Okay, let's continue to read. But this is so interesting to me too, and I hope it's interesting to you all as well, but it's interesting to me because if you're listening to a lot of the undertones, this is basically every politician right now. They're focused on their ideology, especially left-leaning politicians. They're so worried about their ideology that that's what they're really fulfilling. They're fulfilling this ideological agenda, or they're fulfilling their career agenda, whatever that is. Get this job, impress these people, get this job, impress these people, get this job, impress these people. It's not, what did I do for the public, which is really sad, but that's the state of a lot of politics right now. Not all of them, but it seems to be a lot of them. And then you do get that rare, like a Ron DeSantis, who actually is working for his people. But the good news is that this is so obviously happening right now that you're going to inspire people that actually do want to work. You're going to inspire good people to run because they're so tired of this. Hopefully that's what happens. Okay, let's keep reading. Okay. In his letter, Burnley said he believes criminal. This is interesting. In his letter, Burnley said he believes criminal justice reform is needed, such as alternative sentencing programs for certain defendants, as well as diversion programs for those convicted of misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies. Completely agree with that. He goes on to say, I like this, 15 minutes of basic legal research would have been more than enough to modify the policies to conform with the law, Burnley said. In one Zoom meeting hosted by Gascon, Burnley said his boss exhibited a staggering lack of prosecutorial, sorry, I don't know how to say that word, experience and knowledge. For example, you seemed completely unaware of how your policies would impact hate crime and financial crime prosecutions. The combination of arrogance and inexperience was obvious. Holy cow. So this was his letter to Gascon, which he made public. Okay, this is the prosecutor that's been with that office for 28 years. I'm going to read it again. 15 minutes of basic legal research would have been more than enough to modify policies to conform with the law. In that Zoom meeting, you exhibited a staggering lack of prosecutorial experience and knowledge. You seemed completely unaware of how your policies would impact hate crime and financial crime prosecutions. The combination of arrogance and inexperience was obvious. So it's so funny. Like, a lot of times we think people are just so evil. It's like, how could you be behind a policy like this that is so obviously evil, that has such obvious unintended consequences? How can you get behind this policy? And sometimes I think it's just people are just dumb and arrogant. I think they're just dumb and arrogant, which is really scary. Uh, well, I simply miss the Nintendo Sega era of life, the era of human connection. Oh my gosh, I miss the OG Sega Genesis, and what was it, just like Super Nintendo? I miss those days too. Like, I miss playing my Sega. I still remember what it looks like. I've actually been tempted to purchase a a vintage Sega Genesis, just the basic Sega Genesis, and Super Mario Brothers. Super Nintendo, that's what it was, but it was Super Mario Brothers, right? That's what I used to play. Love it. Okay, let's continue. In addition to how his office views criminal justice, Gascon has also been accused of retaliating against his own prosecutors who publicly criticize him and point to flaws in his policies. You have also shattered the personal and professional lives of scores of people who have decided to devote their legal educations to public service. This, again, what really pisses me off even more so, because people do, and I was one of those people. I took being a public servant seriously. I took my job seriously, and I took pride in my job, and I viewed it as an honor to be able to help and serve people. But then you get people like this who run the show, and it just kills the hope of those people. It just deflates their excitement and everything that they've worked for. Several veteran prosecutors, including John McKinney, who has won several high profile cases, and John Lewin, both from the Major Crimes Division, and Jason Lustig, were moved to lower level positions. Everything he wrote was completely accurate. Oh, I'm sorry. Everything Burnley wrote was completely accurate and unfortunately completely true, Lewin told Fox News Digital. So this is John Lewin, who worked for Major Crimes and was moved to a lower level position. And he's just giving his opinion on this letter. And he's saying, yeah, everything in this letter is true. He goes on to say, from day one, George Gascon went in there. He had no experience as a line prosecutor. He had no desire to protect the public, and he had no interest in trying to implement his policies in an intelligent and responsible way. And by the way, this is true just from what I know, the outside working in. I remember December 2 years ago on this same YouTube channel reading out exactly what he did his first day in office. Within, I'm not even joking, you guys, within minutes of Gascon taking office. Keep in mind, this is the biggest DA's office in the US. And at one point in time, I don't know if it's true anymore, but Los Angeles was like the gang capital of the US with tons of crime. I mean, just high organized crime, intricate. To walk in to an office like that with all of these prosecutors who have been there for years, dealt and won these high profile cases, to just walk in, not say hi, how are you? Do you have idea? Like, I don't know, to just walk in within, I think it was like within 5 minutes. I could be exaggerating, but it was definitely within minutes, within 5 minutes of taking oath and having that whole thing, he sends out just a list of directives. No more cash bail, no more enhancements, no more this, no more that, no more this, without even speaking to anyone. Imagine working there for that long, and then this clown shows up, and just, that was his first rule of business. Yes, they have new Oh, they have mini versions that have hundreds of games installed. Oh, cool. Um, you say you have a longboard or skate. I don't know if you guys are talking to me. Oh, oh, Kelly. Wait, someone's talking about, oh, sorry. That's why I need to, sometimes I can't look at the chat because then I get distracted. It's not your fault, it's my fault. I know better. Stop looking at the chat. I want to be a part of it. Okay. um Yeah, so the same guy that said, yeah, everything in his letter is totally right, also told Fox Digital that he is a highly regarded prosecutor who has completely been right in his criticism. He goes on to say he is capturing the feeling of George Gascon trying to dismantle the Los Angeles District Attorney's office. He's really trying to burn it down to the ground. That is so sad. Despite the backlash, Gascon has survived 2 recall efforts and weathered criticism from crime victims, law enforcement heads, his fellow district attorneys, and elected officials. And he still survived 2 recalls. I will say one because I don't think the other one was kind of, but he at least survived one. And he should not have survived that recall effort. Okay, so this is the last part. Hopefully, you will display more humility and less arrogance during the remainder of your term, Burnley said. What have you learned from the two recall efforts? It takes courage and integrity to conduct an honest self assessment. I doubt you are up to the task. Wow. So this person was pretty angry. McCarthy lost more votes, 24 Donalds and one present vote. Jeez. Yeah, there were actually two. So the first one, there were two recall efforts. The first one, I don't know what happened with it. I just think they might have been a little disorganized, but it just kind of fizzled out. I can't remember exactly why, but it was the second one that really took off. It was the second one that had a lot of funding that was getting national attention. Um, that one seemed like it would go through. And while that one was happening and gaining so much attention, Chesa Bodine lost his recall. So I was just like, there's no way that George Gascon is going to lose because he was getting more national attention than Chesa Bodine. And then you had all of those high profile things, and people don't make the connections. But even like the Lady Gaga dog walking incident, that was under Gascon. Um, the Jacqueline Avant, Brianna Kupfer, the nurse who was shoved by a homeless man at a metro station while she was going to work. She was a nurse for 70 years, 70 years. And she passed away from her injuries. It was just how her head hit the ground when she fell over after being shoved. So you're saying, okay, let's see. So I don't know what's going to happen with Gascon. This is someone who is extremely ignorant. And while he is getting all this backlash from, the media, keep in mind that he still has his inner circle that, I mean, you still have like John Legend, who is full in on support of George Gascon. So you still have a handful of people that are very much on board with this ideology and with Gascon, despite all of this that you see. For you and I, we think common sense, but a lot of people don't have common sense. Oh my gosh, yeah. See that toddler push onto the tracks in New York? That is pure evil. I did see that. It is I so disturbing. I mean, you could see so there was, I'm sure you guys saw it, but there was this surveillance footage that came out of New York City of like a mom at a subway station with her toddler. Baby was probably what, like 2? Did you say that? And it was toddler. Looked like 2 years old or something, maybe one or 2, I don't know. But this lady, just completely unprovoked, was sitting there, just gets up, pushes the toddler onto the tracks, and that's it. Okay, let's see. I'm looking at the vote right now. I don't know who this is. Hold on. Maxine Waters just told me to quit my bitching and support Kevin McCarthy or else. I don't know who is that. It's this person. Wait, there. It's that person. R.C. Maxwell calls himself the Black Hannity. I don't know. That's pretty funny. Oh, that's it. So Chip Roy nominates Brian Donalds for Speaker of the House. Hold on. You want to see something funny? Wait.
I didn't know. I've heard that the floor asked for shrubs to be put in the common.
They did a bad lip reading on. I hate even giving them attention. Darn it, but it was kind of funny, so I'll show you. Chip Roy is great. They did a bad lip reading on Matt Gaetz and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talking on the floor. I don't know if you can see it though, because I just have it on my. Wait a second, I can show it to you. Hold on, I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to download it and put it on here
Put in
because.
some rocks too. Oh, interesting. All rocks. I've heard that the floor asked for shrubs to be put in the common areas.
Yeah,
No,
right.
we will not let this slide because, like, when you do
Obviously,
that.
we put in some rocks too.
Oh, interesting. All rocks are my friends. I didn't know. I've heard that the floor asked for shrubs.
Okay, I'm going to show this to you. All those extra IR agents are for regular people. They took out the metal detectors that Pelosi had put up in the house. Of course they did. I was in DC while they had that fencing around at the Capitol, and it was very creepy. Yeah, that was definitely an eerie time to be in DC.
I've heard that the floor asked for shrubs.
Okay, this is bad lip reading. I'm sorry, I just thought this was funny. I wanted to show you. I always see the football bad lip reading. So this is Matt Gaetz and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the floor.
I've heard that the floor asked for shrubs to be put in the common areas.
Yeah,
no,
you're right.
We will not let this slide because, like, when you
Obviously,
do that.
we put in some rocks too.
Oh, interesting. All rocks are my friends. I didn't know. I've heard that the floor asked.
Sorry, I just had to tell that to you.
Shrubs to be put in the common areas.
Yeah.
Not to be offensive, to offensive people, but has anyone noticed that that white people are not in commercials anymore? I don't know, ridiculous question. I will say this, one of my friends, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Well, okay. One of my friends is actually I have several friends that in Los Angeles, and they book a lot of commercials, and they still book a lot. One of my friends, she I don't really we were in acting class together. I guess I wouldn't say friend because we don't really talk anymore. We're kind of if we see each other, we say hi. But she's in a Wendy's commercial and it plays all the time. And every time I see this commercial, I'm like, good for you. Because you know how much money she's making on that commercial. She's white. Um, there has been a big push, and I can actually say this from someone who auditioned in Los Angeles. There's been a huge diversity push for a long time. And you to the point where if you're white and an adult, they'll say don't even I don't know how it is now because I'm not auditioning. I haven't auditioned for like a year. And I have no interest in auditioning. um, so I don't know how it is now, but when I started auditioning in Hollywood, it was very much known that if you were white, it was just going to be a lot more difficult for you at the time just because of how the casting trend was. But I will say this, like I don't really I do there is a diversity push for sure. And I don't know how much it is. They're still casting white actors, but that's going to go wherever society is. So wherever society is at the time, whatever they think is marketable, what they think people want to pay to see is what they're going to cast. So, and that changes all the time. Certain types or looks or things or even certain types of films are in style. And right now social justice, or at least it was the thing. So yeah, that definitely did skew casting a lot. I have been in an acting class. Not just that it ever mattered to me, just one thing changing issues shouldn't be changed by spiteful or hating. Yeah, for sure. I don't even think it goes as far as like spiteful or hate. I honestly don't think that people at the top really care that much. They are just doing what they think they're do- they're doing what they think is the thing at the moment, I guess. Meh. Cool. Yeah, and when they start to see that because what's going to happen is when they start to see like is this hurting my bottom line, is this hurting, and once that does after a while then they're going to go in a different direction. So you are right, but I'm not like I don't think it's like okay, let me say it this way. I always try to be careful how I word. Let me say it this way. Okay. Wow. You know that it's not right. So if basically the demographics of your population match the demographics that you're seeing in movies and film, then the casting is pretty fair, right? Now all of a sudden if you're seeing an overabundance of something that is not represented in society, then that's when it feels forced, I guess you would say, and it feels off. But in my opinion, that will eventually self correct. I think it just kind of has to. Whether people just stop wanting to audition and they start making their own things, and then those things get more traction. So I always say, like, I think you are right. And it's been a thing that not just I have noticed or you have noticed. Um, I don't think it's there are white people that are still getting it's not that you're not going to get cast if you're a white person. It's just that there are trends with casting that in order for them not to look like they're not a certain way, they're maybe overcompensating in certain areas. I hope that makes sense. And I do know this. I've actually had, so I remember when I first moved to LA and I don't even remember what year it was, but I remember being in acting class and I can actually even show you the article. My teacher they tried to cancel her because they were actually telling young girls who were white girls, Caucasian girls, but who were a little bit more darker complected. They were encouraging them to change their last names to like Martinez or Rodriguez or Garcia so that people would assume they were Hispanic and they would have a better shot at getting roles. And that's not a joke. This actually happened. And I'll show you an article about it because somebody in one of those classes where this advice was given leaked that information to try to get like a news story going to try and get this teacher canceled. So the teacher actually had to come out and apologize. But it's an interesting point because I can see how that would be really alarming to hear someone give that advice. I don't think the teacher was necessarily being racist, but I understand how that's alarming for people in the public to hear that advice. But what you have to understand is when you implement things like an affirmative action, when you start not hiring, that's why I just always go back to merit. Like just always go back to merit, because when you are not hiring on merit, when you are hiring because you're trying to fill a quota, you're creating another imbalance in the system that's going to create another backlash. Does that make sense? So now you have this teacher telling students, maybe change your name to this. And now you have a student in that class saying, oh, this teacher is racist, but that teacher is just responding to the current climate. And why this was bad in Hollywood is because in Hollywood, you just have an overabundance of white actors. I don't know why. You just do. If you go in your acting classes, the majority of actors in Hollywood are white. They just are. I don't know why, but they're just white. So naturally, when you're casting movies, you're casting from the pool of actors that agents are handing you that are on their roster. So when most of the actors in Hollywood are white, and when you have a diversity push, when you need to start putting, yeah. I feel like I'm not explaining that correctly, but I hope that it's basically commercials are more liberal than conservatives. I know Grant Gaston is Flash. He understands there's a huge issue with diversity. Yeah, it's an issue, and they keep trying to fix it. And I feel like every time they try and fix it, you create a problem somewhere else. Like what I just said, you created a new problem because now you have this acting teacher who's going and apologizing for giving students this advice. I'll show you the story right here. Leslie Kahn. Here you have it right here. This is on Deadline. You see it? Acting coach Leslie Kahn apologizes for telling students to pose as Latina. So this was back in 2018. So that shows you how long this has been happening. Famed acting coach Leslie Kahn has apologized for telling non-Hispanic student. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. This was my acting school in Los Angeles. Famed acting coach Leslie Kahn has apologized for telling a non-Hispanic student that she would have a chance of landing an agent and a booking series if she pretends to be Latina. An audio tape has surfaced in which Kahn even suggested that the aspiring actress change her name to Rosa Ramirez and get headshots that further advance the ethnic deception. Kahn has an apology posted on Twitter. The tape begins, okay, this is interesting. The tape begins with Kahn telling a class of acting students that the young woman should come up with a Hispanic name that will absolutely convince people that you're Latin. Okay, the student laughs. Okay. Any other ideas? Kahn asks the students. Fernandez. Female student suggests. Kahn says, approvingly to general laughter. I can't be the first person that suggested this. The young actress responded. Yeah, you are. I get ethnically ambiguous all the time. I took a 23andMe and I'm 100% I'm sorry, she's Jewish, basically. But yeah, no one's ever told me to change my name. Leslie goes, I 100% thought you were Latin when you came in here. Oh, I'm sorry, that was another student. Another one said, yeah, I get that. I'm Armenian. Leslie goes on to say, F the Armenian, that's not going to help you. The Latin could actually get you interviews for representation. Just the fact that your name is Rosa Ramirez is going to get you a meeting. So you might try it. Go to the headshot shops. Go to the headshot shops. Tell them you're Latin. Wear something effing red. Wear some effing sparkly earrings. Change your G-damned name. And let's just do an experiment. You know what I mean? Just effing come up with the most Latin name you can come up with. And I mean, I don't know what we're going to do if they ask you if she's really Latin. I don't know how we're going to handle that. Maybe no one will ask. Aren't we allowed to change our names to whatever we want to change our names to? And she already looks it. So stop admitting to being a huge Jew, okay? That's not going to help you. Speaking as one, it's not going to help. As a Jew, it doesn't help. So try it and just keep us posted, like the saga of Rosa Ramirez. Then she added, make sure before you change it to Rosa Ramirez that there isn't already a Rosa Ramirez in SAG. That's the Screen Actors Guild. That's the largest actors union. If there is, we try a slightly different name. Now, I want to point out before I'm going to read you her apology, but I want to point out several things. Now, this is a very highly regarded acting coach in Los Angeles. That's why I went to her. Now, she's giving this advice. Why is she giving this advice? Is it because she's a terrible, awful, racist person? I don't know. I actually didn't love her school, but I don't think she's those things. She is very honest in her opinions, as you can see. This is how a lot of people in Hollywood talk. So this is her apology. And honestly, like, and whether you like Leslie or not, this is a woman who knows the industry. She knows the industry. She's been a teacher for I don't know how long. Everybody knows who this woman is. She knows the industry, whether you like her or not. She wasn't my favorite teacher, but that doesn't mean that the truth doesn't matter. Does that make sense? But she's saying, I have a feeling that just changing your name to this will get you in the door to a meeting. There's a reason why she's saying that, and it's not because she's just a flaming R word. Okay, so this was her apology that she made on Twitter. I sincerely apologize for my recent comments. I believe in diversity and inclusion in the arts of all areas of life. As a Jewish woman, I understand the pain that can come from being discriminated against. On behalf of myself and the company, my most sincere apology is to extend to my students, current and former, and to all others affected. I deeply regret the offense of my words have caused. I value and respect people of all ethnic backgrounds. I'm extremely sorry and will use this learning experience to ensure against that type of incident in the future. Basically, this apology was just like, this got out. It was kind of embarrassing. Oops. That's all it was. People talk like this all the time in Hollywood. But that just goes to show that, yeah, I mean, people know that it's a thing. They know that opportunities might come easier given what is happening right now in casting. If you are not, it's just what it is. My girlfriend, who is from Trinidad and Tobago, feels a little uncomfortable the way Caucasian people are being treated today, as in the blame game or falsely accused. Wait, how many girlfriends do you have? Yeah, so there's that. And that was in 2018. So, and I haven't even auditioned in a year, so I don't know what it's like now. I actually haven't spoken to a lot of my friends that are actors recently, and you can probably imagine why, like my opinions and being public about my opinions. I don't really fly too high with a lot of my acting friends, some of them, so I'll have to see what the deal is in Hollywood right now, if that's still a thing. But everybody, even the most liberal of liberals of actors, they know it's a thing, whether they will admit that or not publicly, I don't know, but everyone knows that it's a thing. Or it was. I don't know if it is now. But again, and that the trend in casting could change. But that's what happens when you're trying to push something. My solution has always been for Hollywood, always. If you want to fix the diversity problem, there's also another issue in Hollywood. And to me, a lot of the diversity is a deflection on this. There's also a lot of nepotism in Hollywood, and it seems to get worse and worse with every generation. And I think we have like more of it right now than we ever have. So there's a huge issue with nepotism as well. And it's so interesting to see. This is why it's so offensive when Hollywood loves to get on their high horse and talk about diversity and inclusion, because even just take away the whole race, Hollywood is the least diverse and inclusive industry that I've ever encountered. And I think they know this. And I think that's another reason why they try to take the social justice stance so hard to deflect from that. But my solution is, if you see a problem with the demographics that are available and the demographics that you see represented in the films that you are making and the films that you are casting, then, South Central LA is just right over the corner, because my criticism has always been the pool of actors that are in Los Angeles, regardless of ethnicity, regardless or any of that. They're all very privileged individuals who probably come from upper middle class homes, went to university, probably had it paid for. So the pool of actors that are already being chosen to be in all the films that you're seeing are already amongst the most privileged of the people probably in the US. Because in order to move to LA, in order to afford acting classes, and I know this from experience, but I did it as an already established adult. In order to afford acting classes, to be able to get around the town, to afford rent, all of those things is extremely, extremely expensive. And it's extremely time consuming to try to get your foot in the door, because you have to know people, you have to make connections. So the pool of people that they're already pulling from are already the most privileged. So my criticism has always been, instead of doing these just dumb diversity quotas on your films, or instead of preaching to the public all the time, why don't you build an acting school in South Central LA? Make it an after school program, make it free, have kids go there after school. That keeps them off the streets, that gives them an activity, something positive to do, have them do their homework when they get there, have tutors, volunteers, whatever, and then they can go and do an acting class, and then maybe get agents, managers, professionals to go and scout, because I'm sure the talent that's there, I'm sure there's a lot more talent there, to be honest with you. And that's just always been me. Yeah, you're right. It's not just a problem in Hollywood. Thank you, Clown. Anywho, all right. I have to hop up. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining. That was a fun live stream. I'm glad we got to talk about some of that Hollywood stuff. I do like talking about that, because I do have a lot of experiences in that world, that especially now with the research that I do and talking about the things that I do, all these things like pop back up, and you're like, whoa, I remember that. I remember that. I remember that. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hi, Jack. I will be, what is today? Today is Wednesday. Oh, let's see Eva before we go. I'll show you Eva. I'm in my comfy clothes because it was just raining really bad. Eva, come on. I mean, I don't mean to expose you. Oh. Eva. Say hello. I just woke her up. Say hello. You've never seen her do that. This is usually where she lays. No. Come say hello. You have a whole audience. They want to see you. Okay. Sorry, Zach. Or Jack. I said Zach. Okay, we'll see you next time. All right, she's not having that. Well, we got to see her a little bit. Oh, no. Sorry, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll let you know what time tomorrow. Yeah, well, I woke her up. I took her out of her bed. Okay, thank you so much, Glenn. We'll keep watching. Who is saying the never Kevins? All right, we'll see you later. Thank you so much, you guys. That was fun. Have a good day. Bye.